They fled into the freezing darkness. On a cold winter night in 1959, 9 experienced hikers abandoned their tent and ran into the Siberian wilderness. They left without proper clothing, without shoes, and for more than 60 years, no one has been able to explain why. This is the mystery of Dyatlov Pass. February 1959, a group of young, experienced hikers from the Soviet Union set out on an ambitious expedition across the northern Ural Mountains. The team was led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, an experienced outdoor adventurer whose name would later become forever linked to one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. The group consisted of 10 hikers, students, engineers, athletes, people who had survived harsh winters and difficult terrain before. This wasn't their first expedition. They knew exactly what they were doing. The goal was simple: reach a remote mountain known as Utorton and complete a difficult skiing route. The journey began normally. The hikers took photographs, wrote journal entries, laughed together. Everything appeared routine. But just days into the expedition, one member became ill and turned back. That decision likely saved his life. The remaining 9 continued deeper into the frozen wilderness. It would be the last time any of them were seen alive. When the group failed to return on schedule, relatives became concerned. At first, nobody panicked. Experienced hikers were often delayed by weather conditions. But as days turned into weeks, search teams were finally dispatched. What they found would spark decades of speculation. The first discovery was the tent. It sat partially buried beneath snow on the slopes of a mountain known as Kolatyakal. Translated from the local Monsey language, the name means Mountain of the Dead. Investigators quickly noticed something deeply disturbing. The tent had been cut open from the inside, not torn by wind, not damaged by animals, cut open, as if the people inside were desperate to escape. The hikers had fled into the freezing night. Temperatures were estimated to be below minus 30 degrees Celsius. And yet they left behind boots, coats, supplies, everything needed to survive. Why? Search teams followed footprints leading away from the tent. The tracks suggested the hikers had not been running wildly. Instead, they appeared to have walked calmly into the darkness. This only deepened the mystery. The first bodies were discovered beneath a large cedar tree nearly a mile away. 2 hikers were found barefoot and lightly dressed. Evidence suggested they had attempted to build a fire. Nearby branches were broken high above the ground, indicating someone may have climbed the tree, perhaps to look for something or someone. Further searches uncovered 3 more bodies scattered between the cedar tree and the tent. It looked as though they had been trying to return, trying to make it back, but they never reached safety. Months later, after snow began to melt, investigators made an even more disturbing discovery. The remaining 4 hikers were found in a nearby ravine. Unlike the others, these victims had suffered severe injuries. One had a fractured skull. Several had massive chest trauma. The force of these injuries was compared to the impact of a car crash. Yet strangely, there were almost no external wounds. No signs of a struggle, no obvious explanation. One victim was missing her tongue. Others were missing soft tissue around the face. The mystery was becoming darker by the day. Soviet investigators struggled to explain what had happened. Eventually, the official conclusion stated that the hikers had died as a result of a compelling natural force. What that force was, however, remained unclear. The case was closed, but the questions never disappeared. Over the years, countless theories emerged. Some believe an avalanche forced the hikers to flee. This is perhaps the most widely accepted explanation today. According to this theory, snow shifting above the campsite created a sudden threat. The hikers cut their way out of the tent and escaped, but critics point out several problems. The slope wasn't particularly steep. The tent remained partially standing, and investigators found little evidence of a major avalanche. Others suggest military involvement. At the time, the Soviet Union frequently tested secret weapons in remote areas. Some witnesses reported seeing strange orange lights in the sky around the same period. Could the hikers have stumbled upon a classified military experiment? Supporters of this theory point to reports of radiation found on some clothing. However, no direct evidence has ever confirmed military involvement. Then there are the stranger theories. Some believe the hikers encountered an unknown creature. Others suggest extraterrestrial involvement, paranormal forces, even interdimensional phenomena. While these ideas capture the imagination, none are supported by credible evidence. Yet one theory remains particularly unsettling. In recent years, scientists propose that a rare type of delayed avalanche could explain many aspects of the case. Computer simulations suggested it was possible. But even this explanation leaves important questions unanswered. Why did the hikers travel so far from the tent? Why were some injuries so severe? And what exactly happened during those final hours? Perhaps the most chilling part of the Dyatlov Pass mystery is that we may never know. The people who experienced that night never had the chance to tell their story. Their photographs end abruptly. Their journals stop without warning. And somewhere in the frozen silence of the Ural Mountains, the truth remains buried beneath the snow. More than 60 years later, investigators, scientists, and ordinary people continue searching for answers. But the mystery endures. 9 hikers entered the wilderness. Only one came back. And even today, one question still remains. What scared them enough to leave the safety of their tent and walk into the darkness? But perhaps the strangest detail of the entire Dyatlov Pass case isn't the injuries. It's the behavior of the hikers themselves. Remember, these were not amateurs. They were highly experienced outdoorsmen who understood the dangers of the Siberian wilderness better than most people ever could. Yet on that night, every decision they made seemed to go against basic survival instincts. Instead of staying inside the tent, they left. Instead of taking their winter gear, they abandoned it. Instead of remaining together, the group became separated. It's almost as if they were reacting to something so immediate and terrifying that survival became a secondary concern. Investigators later discovered that some of the hikers had attempted to help each other. Pieces of clothing had been exchanged between members of the group. Evidence suggested that even in their final moments, they were trying to keep one another alive. This paints a heartbreaking picture. 9 friends trapped in an unimaginable situation, fighting against freezing temperatures, facing an unknown threat, and desperately trying to survive until morning. But morning never came. Decades later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most heavily investigated mysteries in modern history. Books have been written. Documentaries have been produced. Scientists have analyzed the evidence countless times. Yet no theory has answered every question. And perhaps that's why this case continues to fascinate people around the world. Because somewhere between the known facts and the endless theories lies a truth that may never be discovered. A truth that disappeared into the frozen darkness of Dyatlov Pass. And maybe, just maybe, it will remain there forever. What do you think happened that night? Let me know in the comments and subscribe to Unknown Archives for more unsolved mysteries.